Hello and good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
That's it. Well done.
And
Roger.
hello.
The terminal's off now. You don't go to the second. It's 10:98.
Are you ready? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Distance. Keep that sort of distance, same distance. If you move it around, obviously your voice gets louder and quieter.
Okay.
So if you keep it the same sort of distance, then you're fine. Okay, yours is on now for your...
You keep his microphone switched off when you're not speaking or
Just
not?
turn it off there.
No, but do you normally or would you just leave it on?
I'll be monitoring it all the time.
In an introduction like that, I'm sure you were expecting to see two very well-known personalities in front of you tonight. Quite right too. And you would have done, but for the fact that I had a telephone call this morning in the car about 6:15 with some bad news. And I'm going to pass you the message direct, and hopefully you will recognise the message and the voice. And it went something like this. Michael, very sorry that not be able to join you tonight after all, because Di's got to do some babysitting with Philip, who's a bit short there with certain legs. And Mother, that's Elizabeth of course, decided that it was best if I didn't attend at all, because I had a habit of putting my foot in it. So I'm very sorry to let you down, and hope you have a splendid evening. We shall, of course, look forward to reading about it in the court sector of the Times on Monday. Goodbye.
That's fine.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Thank you. welcome. Now, after an introduction like that, you were obviously expecting two very important personages to be looking after you this evening. And up until 5:45 this morning, that was going to be true. I had a message on my car phone from a very disappointing one to say that these personages weren't able to attend. And I'm going to try and interpret that message for you in the hope that you'll recognise who it was from. Somebody of very high esteem in this country, and it went something like this. Michael, frankly sorry that Di will not be able to come tonight because she has to babysit for Fanny. It's short of the odds on duty. And Mother, that's Elizabeth, said that if I came on my own, I'd be more than likely to put my foot in it. So I also have to disappoint you. We hope that you have a splendid evening, and we shall look forward very much to reading of the activity in the court circular in the Times on Monday. Well, for those of you
You've been practicing that for 6 weeks. It's actually 10.
Well, for those of you that don't know me by now, my name is Mike Broberg. My co-presenter this evening, brought here at enormous expense, and with the written authority of the governor of the local asylum, this young Roger Garstang. Many of you will not know that Roger is an authority on women. Unfortunately, the women don't know that. But the authorities do. Speaking for myself, I have to say that if it were not for pickpockets, my sex life would be non-existent. But, thinking about it, on 3 occasions last year, I was lucky to be able to take a more mature woman to bed. Unfortunately, they spent the evening screaming out their booper numbers. So, I'll give that up. I must warn you that after reading the script, your chairman, young Brenda, insisted that we must be fair and make mention of everybody that's here tonight. Now, if I tell you that there's 90 of us, and if I estimate that we give perhaps 2 or 3 minutes to each person, that's 270 minutes, which for those of you without a calculator is roughly 4.5 hours. So we reckon that allowing for 2 to 2.5 hours of dancing, we should all be out of here tomorrow morning at round about 5:45. Now, a cautionary word is called for here for those skinflints that only put £1.10p in the parking meter for 4 hours. Roger and I, there's one over here. Roger and I will be prepared to release the clamps for £50 cash or cheque, made out to the Roger and Mike Holiday Fund. No problem.
I think the reason that we asked you to be in evening dress is now sort of apparent by the sign above me. And we have some special awards to make, which we have entitled the MGR Oskers. In keeping with such presentations, we thought that tradition would demand that the ladies sort of look like ladies and the men at least have a shave before they come out.
Most of them have.
Even Alan Bloom's growing a bloody beard. Now, during this evening, a few of you may have, to your surprise, or may receive, to your surprise, a mention of some sort or other. Now, those of you who are of a nervous disposition, you better go to the bloody bar now, right now. So we decided that some time ago it might be fun to run an MGR Oskers evening. So we asked a few members that we knew had photographs of an intimidating nature, perhaps. And we are secretly, that's Michael and myself, secretly arranged during the last few months to attempt to take some intimidating photographs for ourselves. However, only last week some smart ass decided to raid our car. And a few hours later, fortunately for us, the police actually did recover the missing photographs, etc. because we had arranged that tonight we would display them on the screen. Was it not so? When the police actually investigated these photographs, they discovered that they were of an offensive nature. And when we looked at the offensive photographs and discovered that they weren't our shots, but they were shots taken during a dirty walking weekend away, Michael and I decided to come clean very quickly. We gave Peter Cooper's name and address and told him he should be on
They let me out especially if it's not.
So we now find ourselves without the carefully planned expose, and are thus forced to do a modified programme. We had to add that this evening's Oscars Awards are our own interpretation, and we accept that there may well be more deserving or talented nominations for winners than mentioned. But we may be unaware of your talent and thus apologise if you fail to receive a recommendation. Please take the Oscars as purely a light-hearted affair. I mean, how else could you take it with us two up here? But it is a disappointment that due to yet another government leak, a few MGR members were able to discover the nature of this evening's awards, and we regret to inform you that both Roger and I have received substantial offers from a few vain members eager to be presented with an Oscar. And as a result, we are determined to get through this presentation as quickly as possible, as the two of us are flying out of Heathrow at midnight on holiday, and we're greatly appreciative to those members.
Well, we have to say that when we first thought of this Oscar idea, we realised we had a problem, because we became totally unaware of any member in MGR that may be either an actress or an actor that had fame, until it suddenly occurred to me, and how could I possibly forget, that my co-presenter here, Lord Broberg of Broberg Hall, he actually appeared on our television screens only a year ago. Now, perhaps not a lot of you know that, but in actual fact it happened to be true. And it all started when requests were made by BBC television for people regarded as somewhat of a hopeless case in a given skill to assist in one of their future programmes. A good friend of Mike's, and remarkably she still is a very good friend of Mike's, heard of this plea and duly contacted the studio, claiming that she knew nobody more useless than my co-presenter. And I have to add, I know nobody more useless than my co-presenter. So it happened that he was invited to an interview by the BBC, and that the BBC actually agreed with Mike's friend, agreed with me, that there wasn't anybody more useless, and therefore he was going to be a very capable subject for their programme. And so it came to pass that Mike did appear on a programme called Can't Cook, Won't Cook, one November morning. Fortunately for most of you, because most of you are working, you would have missed this programme as it was at about 10 o'clock in the morning. However, Roger, being Roger, has copies in his car, which are for sale at an exorbitant price. And I have to mention that they come under the category of video nasties, and the last thing is that these videos are only suitable for viewing after 10 p.m. Clearly, we couldn't award an MGR Oscar to our presenter, and unaware of further candidates, I elected, quite rightly in my opinion, to ignore him and not to award in the category for this.
So what categories for our MGR Oscars could we have? We finally decided to consider a few main MGR activities as a starting point, and thus the following titles emerged. Quite obvious really, isn't it? First one was an MGR Oscar for the pub night of the year. What can we say, taking into account the choice of the venue, the cleanliness and decor of the establishment, ease of parking, quality of beer, and a good pub ambience, but also, most importantly, to consider the disposition of my host when suddenly confronted with an extra 20 to 40 people just after he's released the staff early, thinking he's got a quiet night. All of these criteria require consideration, and as pub nights occur on an average once a week, it means that we would have had to have considered 52 drinking evenings. Far too much for our small bladders, I can assure you, to handle. So a pub night Oscar was ruled out for this category.
So after thinking about that particular possibility as an MGR Oscar, we came to, what about the MGR Oscar for the Rambler of the Year? Now, a clear favourite for the winner must be, of course, Jean Robertson. I don't think she's with us tonight, but nevertheless, she would have been a clear candidate, who organises an extraordinary amount of rambles around the local countryside. And the club's thanks must be acknowledged for her hard work. Another nominee for Rambler must also include Peter Cooper for his so-named Dirty Weekend Rambles, not forgetting, of course, his merry-go-rounders. We hear these weekends are very well organised and highly successful, but we, that's Michael and I, are also aware of Peter's highly competitive nature. We therefore spared him the embarrassment of possibly becoming second. And decided not to award an Oscar for this category.
Well, as we've been sitting down eating a very nice meal, it sort of triggered off the thought of an MGR Oscar for the Eat Out of the Year. And again, I think it's opportune to give thanks to all who arrange such activities. And we notice particularly that Sally Radford is a prominent name in hosting frequent eat-outs. And we realise the trauma there must be in booking tables for 6, 8, 12, 20. You know, will it be either too many or too few? Is the service adequate and up to MGR member requirements? Does the restaurant have sufficient loo capacity? Is parking within a day's walk? I mean, are serviettes the right colour? Is the quality of the knives and forks worth taking home? Have I already got one of their ashtrays? He's got lots. And does the black pepper pot fit neatly into a handbag or pocket? So much to think of, wasn't there, Roger, in an attempt to satisfy MGR members. We just got so tired thinking about it, we gave up, fell asleep, and decided not to award an Oscar.
So, we thought of something else. We thought, well, one of the main activities, not the main activities, but a weekly activity of MGR is for the bridge evening of the year. Or should we say even for the bridge play? And I believe on this table we have some people from the bridge. So we thought the bridge section of MGR could provide a few candidates here. But upon inquiries with members who we know actively support the game, the bids were high, they wouldn't show their bloody hands, so we stacked that idea.
Well, keeping with sport, loosely, this is a very technical section, ladies and gentlemen, you have to pay attention. MGR Oscar for the golf venue of the year. Now this category we found to be our bogey, as we have been handicapped in irons, trying to drive a wedge, wait for it, between the merits of various courses, which the club uses in a fair way.
All his own work.
I don't know who wrote this. Being green at the game, we couldn't make a shot at even naming a birdie eagle, let alone a winner. So, bunkered were we decided par to chip out of awarding an Oscar for this category. I never thought I'd get away with it.
He thought of that all on his own, the bastard. Having done that, we thought, well, what about the MGR Oscar for the eat-in of the year? Well, many eat-ins take place, and reports that we collected show many candidates would qualify for an entry into the Good Food Guide. But as Mike and I were invited to attend so few, it became impossible for us to judge the overall quality. But surely Jim Ford's cooking demonstration in the late summer, where many members attended cooking for themselves under Jim's expert guidance, deserves a special mention. I was also let into a secret. I also have it on very good authority from a very high member of your committee, but the committee had jokingly once discussed eat-ins should be for 3 people. But apparently in the committee, I don't know how many it is, of 10, they could not agree on whether it should be 2 ladies and 1 man, or 1 man and 2 ladies. Do you know what they're talking about, Michael?
I'll fill you in later. It's much too complicated for you, Roger. If we may refer to a barbecue event as an eat-in, then Roger and I were amused one summer's evening whilst at Julia Small's house I could stop there and say, well, yeah, we were amused at Julius Sports. When 3 stokers tended the barbecue, namely Mike Devlin, John Scaife and Peter Cooper, again, seemed to lose total control, are you surprised, in their attempt to keep the barbecue alight. Close at hand, however, like a knight in shining armour, appeared Godfrey Hounsfield. He sprang into action, super fit as ever, and grabbing Julia's vacuum cleaner...
Was that all he grabbed?
We thought he grabbed, yes. Cleverly altered it into reverse thrust to fan the flames. I think I'm right in saying, Roger, we eventually caught up with that barbecue 5 gardens down the road. It was a struggle. And I have to say, if it were to award an Oscar for ingenuity, Godfrey would be out on his own. At the risk of not upsetting anyone not mentioned as a nominee, we decided to skip an Oscar in this category as well.
And that led us on to sort of thinking about, well, what about an MGR Oscar for the Games evening of the year? It can be noticed, because Mike and I have gone through back copies. My back copies, he's lost all his. But the programmes in the main, the Games evenings, are hosted by ladies of MGR, Trivial Pursuit and Mahjong apparently favourites. We, of course, being total gentlemen, are far too discreet to mention the other games we've heard whispered. So, through a total lack of sportsmanship, we decided not to award an Oscar for this category.
Well, we perhaps should consider an MGR Oscar for the day or evening out of the year. An orchestrator, our musical advisor, a nominee, a classic of her kind, rarely seen without a baton, conducting highly organised musical soirees around the Albert Hall. You all know of whom we refer, as any of you whom have attended Margot's masterclass in the comprehensive use of the triangle must agree it's a never to be forgotten experience. As again thank you, Margot. As again we can find no serious competition to Margot as a nominee, we can only express our thanks on behalf of you all to recognising her dedication to enlighten us in the arts. So we decided, regrettably, we were unable to award an Oscar for this category.
And that leads us to one more of the MGR activities, and probably one of the most popular, the MGR Roundabout 8 of the year. Surely one of the most popular MGR events. We must extend our thanks to all who hold open house. We did have some sympathy for members travelling some distance to an after 8, only to discover the host had, for that evening at least,
Shrewd bloke.
We understand that Brenda and Dennis were quite pissed off and the membership was duly withdrawn. Our sympathy also went to the lady living in a 1-bedroom flat invaded by 58 people, mainly men. They heard a story saying she was a bloody good sport.
Is that really true?
Well, she's a bloody good sport. I don't know. With weekends sometimes twice a week roundabout 8's occurring, not wishing to single out any one member holding the best evening, we decided not to award an Oscar for this category.
Well, you're sitting there thinking, great. We've been through the MGR main events and have failed to arrive at any suitable Oscar category. So we've had to think of a few others, like the MGR Oscar for the committee member of the year. Here's the smooth bit. Here we extend our thanks to the work put into the club by all the committee. We realise that it's your time and effort that is required to ensure the successful continuation of merry-go-round. Could we please ask all of our committee members to stand?
Come on, you lot, everybody to there. Come on, stand up, come on, stand up. Committee members. Come on.
The doors are over there, the rest of the meeting's in conference.
He's a bloody creep, that is not in my script.
Well, we agreed it would not be fair to favour just one committee member, so we did it.
So then we thought, how about, and listen to this carefully, fellas, the MGR Oscar for the stud of the year.
Sit down,
Your heart's racing somewhere. Not on this side of the podium, I can tell you, it must be out there. We immediately rejected it as there can only be one Oscar winner. And we felt we couldn't disappoint the remaining men who would be proud to advertise. Anyway, as it so happened, there were no ladies on the Oscar committee, so how the hell could we judge? If Stud of the Year was a consideration, then what about
MGR Oscar for Lay of the Year.
I see some embarrassed ladies' faces out there, Michael.
Again, immediately rejected due to a possible large percentage of ladies getting up and rushing home in embarrassment. There's nobody moving. Anyway, all our attempts at market research were thwarted. So what about an MGR Oscar for Queen of the Year? This was dodgy ground, I'm going to tell you. Well, we thought very hard about this one, but we rejected it due to a lack of nominees coming forward. We were more than distressed to find that 4 came backwards.
That led us on to even more wicked thoughts. What about MGR Oscar for the Curb Crawler of the Year? Again, this was immediately rejected upon the realisation that any male member caught and brought before Maidenhead magistrates may find his details further exposed before one young Caroline Martinson as clerk to the court. We felt duty bound to protect Caroline and decided not to award an Oscar. Then we came to virtually our last one, which was the MGR Oscar for the Personality of the Year. No? This is really quite an important one, of which a few Tulsa should be racing out there because it's very important. But Mike and I rejected it due to our being presenters. We couldn't nominate ourselves. And therefore, as neither one of us would win, we became uninterested and scrapped the bloody idea.
Eventually we decided after much deliberation on having 4 categories, and we can now disclose the first one. But first,
This side, Michael.
the Oscars of which we talk. Solid gold, brought up here by Securicor and an army of 10. Very valuable items, much treasured in the years to come if you've got a good refrigerator.
£1.85 from Boots.
So, the first award, the MGR Oscar for an insane activity, and to present this award we've been lucky enough to persuade a gem of a man, well used to the feel of gold. Would you please put your hands together and welcome Mr. Alan Blue.
Alan, whilst you're here, it's my bloody fault. I should have given you an envelope, actually. Yeah, hang on a second. Got your own piece of paper these days, haven't you?
Yeah, it's quite warm still. Sorry, smutty.
Yeah, you're on now. It's all right. I have to say, in all honesty, Alan didn't know that he was going to be up here until he walked in the room tonight. Now, he deserves a word of applause. That's enough!
And amongst the nominees are Mr. Ian Danley for his performance riding his bicycle in aid of charity from London to Brighton. Mr. Peter, and once again, Mr. Peter Cooper, what a bicycle, for his performance, riding his bicycle in aid of charity at the second attempt. Wait for it. Having broken his leg on the first. So he was plastered for a few months. Julia Small, for as reported in the Maidenhead Advertiser, her performance in Walking Round Holland
and not taking a bicycle. It actually says waking round holiday.
That's my typing slip, Juliet.
Mr. Michael Broberg for being here this evening. Mr. Garstone for listening to Mr. Broberg in the first half. Oh, sorry. But the winner is, to one of our smallest ladies with a big heart and a healthy pair of lungs, for a charity performance run in the London Marathon. The MGR Oscar for her insane activity of the year goes to Doc James.
Thanks very much, Alan. Love the beard. Anytime you want to get me into shavings, I'll take them, all right?
Borrowed it from Jim.
Our second category is the MGR Oscar for the High Flyer of the Year. The High Flyer of the Year. And to present this award, especially at enormous expense, flown in from Taplow, a woman of beauty, charm, wit, trainee golfer, connoisseur of the dance floor. Will you please put your hands together and welcome an ex-model, well used to walking the catwalks of Cape Town, Miss Catherine Haverham. Waste of bloody time, I've ruined 4 bloody envelopes.
Another sight you haven't seen before. Amongst the nominees are Tony Picton-Clark, with thanks for the gliding days, Noel McLaughlin, Harry Burnham, and all pilots with their heads and other bits in the clouds. Julia Small, as a BA steward, also flies high.
I never typed that! You bloody proofread it! Sorry, Julia.
And the club's numerous businessmen and women in high-flying jobs. But for this award, we come back down to earth. And the winner is a licensed pilot of a different kind. For his performance during the summer, barging up canals and the River Thames, ferrying MGR passengers, the MGR Oscar for High Flyer of the Year is now the Low Flyer of the Year. And it goes to Mr. Alan Cavender.
You're welcome. No need to know what it was, Alan.
Our third category is the MGR Oscar Smile Award. Presenting this award is a man with a big smile. Businessman, politician, Rotarian, as David Cross would say. We can sleep well at night knowing his alarm systems will protect us. Did you know that all alarms fitted to single ladies' houses requires his personal overnight attendant?
I might tell you, but I live opposite this man, and his car's never there. Business is absolutely marvellous.
I mean, I don't know why this has triggered it off in my mind, but I'm tempted to ask you, Roger, is it true that after making love, 25% of men turn over and go to sleep, and 75% get up and go home?
Not that well.
Will you please welcome, fresh from his Australian charity car rally in September 1996, Mr. Eddie Clark.
This is all right, it's only 18 pages long.
Unaccustomed as I am to speaking in public, I have to tell Roger very simply, I put the car in the garage, Roger. You see,
I just happen to know his name.
I know it pisses you
It's
off.
my car in his garage.
I know it pisses you off, you see, so I'll put it in the garage. That's what posh people do, you know, they use the garage of the car. Amongst the nominees for the Smile of the Award is Ian Dabney for his smile when receiving subscription checks. This man will not accept cash, but he will pay for his drinks with the exact amount of small change if he's got it. The point about it, of course, is don't be caught at the bar when Ian's about. The next nominee is Jane Jones for her smile, having successfully bullied somebody to host at around about 8 or any other event. Brenda Evans, who always appears to be cheerful with a broad smile on all occasions. It's particularly pleasing to me to say that Dennis Allard, for his smile when confronting new prospective ladies. I have to say, Dennis, that Roger and I are going to break your leg next to
One apiece.
We reckon that's the only way we're going to get to those ladies first. Mike Devlin's smile when yet another pint is placed before him. A particularly popular one, this one. Bernard Hughes' smile when playing golf and finding yet another lost ball. Jackie Gaynor's smile when a weed you thought you saw in her garden turns out to be something she planted. And lastly, Jenny Chapman's smile, they're just as big as they come. So the award is, I have it here now? I thought I had it in this envelope. Thank you. I'll put it especially in an
Look
envelope.
after these people, you know.
See, I do try and do as I'm told. I put it in an envelope. We've heard and said about winners often are prominent and confident with extrovert tendencies, like Roger and this guy next to me. But many people are there in the background, doing their bit for the club in a quiet manner, and we award this Oscar to a lovely lady whom we hope will be pleasantly surprised. And this MGR Oscar Smile Award goes to a fish called Wanda. Wanda Harding. When you smile, Wanda, the whole world smiles with you.
I'm glad to hear that although your politics and mine are slightly different, in fact they're a long way out, you're actually going to continue in politics. That's what he tells me. If you want to get out now, you can. We come to the last award of our 4 awards, and it's the MGR Oscar for what we have entitled the Supporter of the Year. And to present this award, one of our biggest supporters, a lovely lady, but if you attend 2 MGR events in a row and you haven't seen her, you'll think you've gone blind. Yet another marathon runner, tenpin bowling enthusiast, queen of the trivial pursuiters, a lady of substance. Please welcome our chairman, Brenda Evans. Under control.
Don't choose, Brenda, stick with what you've got there.
Before I start reading out the nominations, actually, I'm going to go completely off script, and these guys don't have to. And I'd like to thank them both very much.
Could you just cut out the microphones and Clive, if you want your cheque for tonight, we'll cut out the microphones.
I'd like to thank them both very much, especially Roger, who I know has put in an awful lot of work to make this evening a success. The nominees for Supporter of the Year are Mr. Mike Devlin for his support of any brewery. No, he's not here, no.
That's what we can
say. Yvonne Heath for all her past support to new members. Barry Welsh and Jenny Chapman as active supporters at all times. Long may they continue. And I know they've done this one to trip me up. Ed Griglashevsky for attending more Christmas functions than Father Christmas. Now we get yeah. He doesn't know it's not Christmas, don't tell him. And now we get on to the really nitty-gritty. Another nominee, Jim Ford, for supporting Arsenal. Brave man. Yeah. Len Wakefield for supporting Fulham.
It gets worse.
Ian McGaw for supporting Liverpool. Chris Birchall for supporting Watford. Brave men indeed. But the winner is, you've done this to me deliberately, for his unfailing devotion to duty, caught often whilst driving his car, transporting Jane Jones and other ladies to an event, thus having his ear bent into holding another roundabout age. A supporter in the mould of Dennis Thatcher. And the winner is... the MGR Oscar for Supporter of the Year goes to Mr. Robin Butler.
Thanks very much, Brenda.
Is that why you didn't say supporting West Ham?
Oh, did I get it wrong?
You forgot that one.
No favouritism.
Well, it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for Roger and I to slope off and have a cup of Horlicks. Horlicks.
Horlicks, Susan?
Horlicks. That's an interesting word, isn't it? Horlicks. Makes me think of Hugh Grant somehow or another, I don't know. Anyway, we're about to say au revoir with just a few words as follows.
We like the girls that do. We like the girls that don't. We like the girls who say they will, but then they say they won't. But the girls we like the best of all, and we think you'll say we're right, are the girls who say they never do, but look as though they might.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike and Roger have actually asked me if you could please put your hands together for your catering staff this evening. I'm so glad you enjoyed that meal because now they're going to come in and they're going to move some tables around so we can get dancing. So we're going to return you to background music and then we'll just move these two front tables and then we'll be on our way. But ladies and gentlemen, the bar is open.
Of a village people.